Well, hello everybody. I hope that sorry about that. I forgot it was Saturday. I got tied up. There we got one. I'm sorry I missed my 8 o'clock. I even told you guys I was going to be here at 8 o'clock and I didn't make it. But I'm here now. So well, anyway, I guess I'll just start talking. Maybe somebody will come on there. If not, it is going to be what it's going to be. So anyway, with all the weather that's been going on, it's kind of hindered getting parts for the transmissions I'm working on. I ordered some stuff for a 4L80, and it's still on hold. Or I still haven't seen it anyway. Excuse me. L to the W is I'm waiting on a fourth apply ring to get here from GM, and GM's even having trouble getting parts out right now because of all the weather and everything. And last I heard, FedEx is like 5 days behind on bringing stuff. So we're just kind of on hold on a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, I got to pray for all the people in Texas that are having to do with the rolling blackouts and people freezing, and it's not a good thing there. You know, they're wanting to do the global, the I don't know what you call it, make it more reliable anyway, or make it better for the economy. But you know, you can't rely on solar and wind to provide your power because it requires light and wind, where, you know, coal-fired or nuclear power plants and that kind of stuff don't. But anyway, so I had somebody ask me. I had L to the W was kind of interested in seeing a 8L90 tore down. And getting one of those cores right now is kind of tough. And usually if somebody wants one of those cores, it's an arm and a leg. They're still pretty popular, and they're actually a pretty durable transmission. You don't usually have to do much to them. Thank you for the thumbs up, whoever gave it to me. The 8L90, for the most part, the only thing that happens with them is torque converter shutter. So, and that has to do with the fluid holding moisture. And I actually had a class here a couple weeks ago. It was actually on that. Thanks for the second thumbs up, by the way. We had a class on that here recently, and they actually had a cut apart, or they had somebody cut one of those torque converters apart and used it to see what fails on it. And, you know, for as much demand on that they use for that clutch, man, it had hot spots in it like you would not believe. Kind of like a manual transmission when you learn how to drive a clutch, and, you know, it just burns the hell out of the two plates. The only difference is in an automatic, it has some sort of cooling with the transmission fluid. Whereas a manual transmission, you don't. I mean, you rely on just the air around it to cool it off, and it takes a lot longer to cool it off. So, but yeah, they had we had a converter that was cut apart for us to look at, and that was pretty cool. But like I said, the pressure plate and the well, you could call it a flywheel in there, but the face of it, they'd had hot spots all over it, and it's no wonder it chatters. But it's all because the fluid was holding water, or moisture, I should say, and that's why they changed the fluid on them and had a new design. They call it HP. It's put out by Mobile One. But they're starting to phase out the 8 speeds, it looks like. They're starting to put a lot more 10 speeds in the trucks, and the cars, well, they'll still use some in the cars, but pretty much all the Camaros have got a 10 speed in them now. I think even the 4-cylinder's got a 10 speed in it, 21s or something like that. But that seems to be the wave. I mean, everything's going to go to 10 speeds. 10 speeds, or however many more gears they can get in them. And that 10 speed's a neat transmission to have apart. I've had to do one of those so far. And that was in an 18 Tahoe. But anyway, man, we had a teaser Thursday. Not yesterday. Well, Thursday this last week, it was like 86 degrees down there, and it was fantastic. Weather was great. And then the next day was rainy and cloudy, and it started at like 60 some degrees in the morning. It dropped to like 54 in the afternoon, and it was kind of chilly. But I see some of you popping in and popping out. Say hello. Glad to see you stop in anyway. Again, my apologies for getting on here late. I said 8 o'clock, and it was 8:30. In fact, I've been so tired today. Yeah, 4 or 5 speed. I agree to that. I don't know. I mean, if I had a chance to get a hold of an 8L90, I would love to put one in my 3rd gen. The only problem is I'd have to run like an LS3 or something bigger ECU to be able to control the trans controller, because right now there's nobody that does aftermarket for the 8-speed. Now, there is a company out there that does it for the 6-speed, but that's got the mechatronic in it, which the TCM is part of the solenoid assembly inside the trans. But on the 8 and the 10 speeds, they're not. The TCM is separate. I don't know if I talked to you guys last week, but I had a 2021 Tahoe in there, and the people were traveling from Ohio down to the Keys, and they're driving along, and something went thump, and it said service transmission, and the thing quit moving. And that was pretty strange. Turns out that it had something inside the TCM that had failed, and it was bringing the rest of the network down. And yes, I did say network. These new cars are stupid with computers, let me tell you. They got like 3 different network, or four or 5 different network types in it. I think some of them might even have 6 different network types in it. And they all got to be able to talk to each other. It's just crazy. But Oh, excuse me. You had limp mode's the understatement. It just quit moving. It, in fact, on those, they don't have the they don't have a manual shifter, so to speak. It's all done electronically. So if it goes in limp mode, you can't shift the transmission. Once it's in park, it stays where you put it. So they actually have a special tool, which is basically a shifter, a manual shifter that you put on the transmission to be able to move it, which the tool's so new, we don't even have it. All right, Kenny, you want to know about the TCC valve block and how you block it? Well, there is a valve in the TCC regulator in the valve body. I wish I could do this out in the shop to where I could show you, because I don't. I will have to go over one of those with you. In fact, I've got a later model Foil 60E. I will do a video on that. Right. You're not really blocking the TCC valve itself. You're blocking the PWM valve that's in the valve body. And it takes it from being a pulse width modulated torque converter clutch to just an on-off clutch like they used to build. Like this 94 that I'm getting ready to build, it doesn't even have that valve in it. I mean, it's one of the early designs. It's either on or off. There's no slippage to it whatsoever. It wasn't designed for it. They didn't start using the pulse width modulating valves to the very start of, I think it was 95 or 96, one of the two. I'd have to look it up. In fact, I can tell you. Let's see if I can tell you when they started that. To do. 59. There's just too much stuff to remember. I have to keep reference material. They changed the manual valve in 95. What else did they change? Yeah, I would agree with the on and off for sure. It doesn't have as much heat. Well, I can't find it right now. There it is. Yeah, it was added in 95. It says beginning of the start of production for 95 models, all 460Es were built with an added PWM solenoid on the valve body to control the TCC apply feel. The new TCC PWM solenoid stamped the torque converter clutch on and off, ramps the converter clutch on and off, as in most other GM, and they did it for improved pleasability of torque converter clutch apply and release. So, yeah, that started in 95. I thought it was 94, 93, and 94 they were like their test units. Dude, Clyde, I would be just tickled to death if I found a ragtop 87 for $700. As long as the body was in decent shape on it, man, those are tough to find. That's one of mine. That's one of the. I'd love to have one of those. I mean, I've got two decent hard tops. One of them's kind of rusty, but structurally it's pretty sound. But yeah, a convertible for $700. Heck yeah. I'm assuming, Clyde, that you must live somewhere where it does get cold and snowy. Let me guess, it's on the right front. Oh yeah, Philly got nailed up there. One of the other guys I watch. Oh, it's on the driver's side. Huh. Usually whenever every one of those that have ever been wrecked has got a dent or cracked spoiler, it's usually on the right front. It's just like nobody knows where the corner of that part of the car is. Just like Scarlett, my 87 IROC that I've got, it's got a dent on that right front fender. And the front fascia is in decent shape, though. Yeah, I'd love to see pictures. Just send it to my email address, which is the same as my YouTube channel. And yeah, I'd love to see it. In fact, I don't know if you guys watch any of the videos of mine all the way to the end, it's got pictures of my 87 or Scarlett at the very end of it. And of course, there's some other videos that have got some of my cars in there. But like this, my other 87, which was my buddy's, that kind of gave to me, which I thought that was pretty cool. But the right front fender's gone off of it and the hood, and then I'm sure it was because it got smacked on that right front and somebody needed a fender, or one that they had got smacked in right front fender, The donor IROC that I got's the same way. It was hit on the right front. In fact, when I took the nose off of it, what was left of it, the crash bar was bent on that side too. But hey, Clyde, does your convertible have a tune port in it, or is it just is it like a carbureted? Because that was the last year for the carbureted 5-liter in those too. Or did it come with a 350? I can remember going into the showroom of what was then used to be Courtesy Chevrolet Cadillac in 1989. And they had a black, I think it was a used one. No, it was new. They had a black IROC with the red lettering, red decal package. It was a 5-speed T-top car on the showroom floor. And that thing was gorgeous. Carbureted 350, but aftermarket. You can look, Clyde, just look at the VIN number. Look at the 8th digit of the VIN. And it'll tell you what engine code. If it was Let's see, an 87. If it was an H, it would have been a 305. If it's a F, as in Frank, it would have been a 305 tune port. And if it was an 8, just the number 8, it would have been a 350 tune port. It was an original 305. Okay. But was it originally carbureted or was it originally tune port? An easy way to tell if you don't know for sure is to look on the driver's side. If it was a tune port, it'll have 2 fuel lines coming up on the right by the brake booster, and it sits on top of that frame rail. But if it was originally a carbureted, it would have the lines on the passenger side coming out down around the frame horn for the fuel pump. That's the easiest way to tell anyway. Well, you bet. Anytime. Yeah, I'm probably better off that that I'm just an average Joe, and I wasn't blessed with a golden spoon in my mouth or anything like that, because I'd probably have a whole lot of these dang cars. I like them that much. I mean, they're just to me, they were just a really cool car. I can remember a bunch of us when I used to hang around. It was, let's see, I was probably, how old was I? I was in my early 20s anyway, but I had an 82 Trans Am. The way the story goes is I ended up, I had a place of my own, and I had a couple cars. I went through quite a few cars then. I had a 77 Trans Am at the time. And then I ran across this 81 Turbo TA that was black with T-tops, a tan interior. And it was an original Turbo TA. The body was spectacular on it. I don't know if somebody done body work, but if they did a good job. But the underside of it didn't have a whole lot of rust either. So it looked like it had probably been repainted, but it was a beautiful car. Anyway, this kid bugged me to sell it to him. So I sold it to him. And it's one of those deals where later off I found out that he took his life in it and run it into a bridge pillar, which that's a bad deal. But anyway, when I sold that car, I found this 82 Trans Am that just kept calling my name. It was from a guy over in Kansas when I lived up there. And it was an original 4-speed car with a 5-liter. And you talk about a fun car to drive. That was a lot of fun. But man, that thing screamed going down the highway because it had 342s in it. And so, going down the highway at 65 or something, you're turning over $3,000. And long story short, it developed a knock in it, and I never could figure out what it was right at first. and that was when I was still kind of green as far as cars are concerned. But I finally had to chase it down and pulled the intake off of it. There was 2 cracks on the inside of the engine block on either side of the cylinder, and you could tell it was leaking coolant. I mean, it was like coolant stain, had some mud across it. It was a bad deal. And it was originally a carbureted 5-liter. So at that time, I ended up finding another 5-liter and just kind of put a stock deal in it, put a comp cams 268 in it, which was probably a little bit big for a 5-liter, but it ran good. And I loved that Super T10 that was in there. Man, that was the smoothest shifting transmission. And one day I was driving through town, and apparently the bearing that was in between the input and output shaft decided it was done, and it come apart, and that thing sounded terrible in anything but fourth gear. So there was a guy out in the city that was a authorized Borg Warner rebuilder. So I took it to him, and he said, "Yeah, the thing's gonna take like $900 to fix it." I was like, "Ooh." He goes, "But I can sell you a T5 for $935. I says, "Well, you can figure out which way I went." So I put a 5-speed in it, but man, the 5th gear, I don't know what he put. I think the 5th gear must have come out of a Blazer or something like that, because it was super low. But anyway, as I loved it, it was really quite streetable. But all my friends had F cars. I had that one. Buddy of mine had a 91 GTA. Another friend had a 89 Z28. It had a 91 hood on it, 91 spoiler, but it was an 89 car. Who else had one? Oh, there was somebody else. I can't remember who else was there at the time. But anyway, we ended up on a highway out in Mexico, and we learned about drafting at 130 mile an hour out in Mexico. And it was crazy. That was the coolest thing I ever did. Dumbest thing I probably ever did. Nah, it's not the dumbest thing, but it was pretty stupid. What's up, Mr. Luther? Sorry I'm late getting out here again, guys. So if you're out here listening to me gab, I'm tickled to have you along. And thanks to whoever gave me the thumbs up. Hope you all are staying healthy and warm, and even with all the weather and everything else going on. We've been fortunate down here. Thanks for the next thumbs up. I appreciate that. Put a speed feeder head on my weed eater. Okay, going to town on the yard. I'm going to tell you, I bought one of those Milwaukee cordless, one of their weed eater with the quick attach head on it. That thing is bad to the bone. And it works perfect for as little weed eating as I have to do. I mean, if I was doing it commercially or something like that, no, it wouldn't be worth it. But it's perfect for around the house. It lasts about an hour on a charge on one of those big high output 8 amp hour batteries. And 8th digit is an H. Okay, Clyde, it was originally a 305 carbureted car then. But it came in a pack. The weed eater with the quick attach heads, I can take the head off of it, and I can put like a a pole saw on the end of it, which eventually I'll get to, because that'd be handy as all get out. And I'm gonna sell all my gas stuff, because I mean, it's just, for around here, it's just maintenance, and you're more than welcome, Clyde. Yeah, Stephen, I've got some steel stuff, but the steel, to me, that it just kind of went downhill over the years. I think if I was to buy another weed eater that was gas, I'd probably buy a Husqvarna. I bought a couple of Husqvarna chainsaws and absolutely love them. Only reason why I say plural is I lent mine out to somebody and it came back broke. Then when I moved down here, it mysteriously grew legs and I never got it back. So I had to buy another one when I got down here. But I've still got a steel FS80, one of the old FS80s. And I need to do a rebuild on it and try to find some parts. But that thing, you can put a saw blade on the end of it, and that thing was fantastic, man. I used to cut brush with that thing like it was going out of style. You get in big saplings and stuff like that, that thing would take it down just like it. So I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't loan any of my big tools out anyway. In fact, there's a couple of them at work that I need to go chase down, because at work, you're just kind of like a big family of guys anyway. Everybody tries to help each other out, except for the ones that are real pricks. Then you just like, no, go get your own. Corey, I don't know, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to end up doing the same thing that happened when, when was that? Around 2007, when it skyrocketed like that. And of course, when that happened, I was driving at the time an 89 full-size pickup. It had like a 34-gallon tank on it. It cost me like $140 to fill that thing up. It was crazy. I really feel sorry for the people out in California when it does that, because, I mean, everything out in California is stupid high. And I know, Steven, you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm definitely not an expert. I've been kind of watching the barrel prices, and because they're going to be a good indication of what the gas price is going to do. If the barrel prices start going up, then like astronomically, then the gas is going to follow, shortly behind it. When they started doing all this stuff here recently, I ended up going and stocking up on fuel for the generator in case we ended up needing that. And I've got some stockpile, and I've got probably 50 gallons of diesel, which the only thing it'll do is run the tractor. But I mean, at least I don't have to buy it for a while. Wow, thanks for all the thumbs up, y'all. I really appreciate that. The channel's been growing a little at a time, and that's okay. I don't know if y'all have been following on the on L to the W's transmission build, but it's going pretty smooth, except for, like I stated at the very beginning, I'm waiting on an apply ring for the 3/4 clutch. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you guys, you gotta, unfortunately, when you get on social media and stuff like that, and I mean, the cancel culture is a real thing. So just be careful what you say about certain things, and watch your P's and Q's. when it comes time, then you can express your thoughts, but I wouldn't do it right away. Thanks a lot, Clyde. I appreciate that. What's up, brother? Yeah, as far as generators concerned, I'd like to find me like a John Deere, like maybe one of those Yanmar diesels. If I could find like a salvage yard for, yeah, everything's great. I hope it's all right with you too. I'd like to find me like a Yanmar diesel, like an 18 or 20 horse or something like that, and then find me a generator assembly I can bolt to it and kind of make my own generator, because natural gas is not an easy commodity down here, and propane is stupid expensive to run a generator on. I don't know if anybody ever done that before, but it takes a lot of propane to run a generator. It's not cost effective. Did you freeze or snow out? No, not where I'm at. It's like I said, it's been pretty warm. We've just been getting some rain down here. It cooled off again. I think it's going to get down into the 30s or something again tonight, but no, it's been fine. The only time my power goes out here is when a storm comes around, and then every once in a while, I'll just go out for the hell of it, just as like say they did it, I've lost more power at this house down here than I've ever lost anywhere else that I've been, and just for stupidest reasons too. Sometimes it'll be sunny out and the power will go out, and it's like, what the heck's that all about? But yeah, like I said, I'd still like to find me a diesel generator. I'm gonna plant a garden. There you go. Except for the only thing we got down here is a little bit of sand or a whole lot of sand and limestone, and I don't know. There's not a lot of dirt here to hold nutrients for a decent garden. Ooh, no water and no electric. Woo. The longest time that I ever lost power in a house that we ever had was back in 2004 when I lived up north. We had a really nasty ice storm, and we were without power for 8 days. Now, luckily, it's on city water, but the little generator that I've got now, it ran our house for 8 days straight. The only time it got shut off was to put fuel in it. I mean, it's an old Generac, pull start, and that thing's been fantastic. It's a great little generator. I'd hate to replace it with some of the new stuff, but it is what it is. Yeah, Houston got nailed. Purple Border Collie. To answer your question, the pump stator splines are worn, huh? I'm getting a rebuilt converter. Nothing wrong with that. So you're just going to replace the pump, I'm assuming. And to answer your question on 13 vein, it depends on the year of the 700 that you're putting in there. You need to make sure you have one actually any of them from about 87 up are probably the better ones to get. The reason why I put a 13 vein in a 10 vein pump housing is because it smooths the power or the supply of fluid coming out of that pump. if you ever to put one in a pump that's got a pump issue with it and you put a gauge on it, that gauge will just sit there and go like this, just flutter with a boost valve and stuff like that. So the best thing you can do on one of them is put a 13 vein pump in it and put it like either a 471 thousandths or a 490 boost valve in it. You could even put a 500 boost valve in it if you want it. But and just upgrade the spring, and it'll help. Anytime you can upgrade the pressure on it, it'll help that transmission immensely. So even if you're not hot rodding it, it'll help you. Yeah, Stephen, we just had a drain field put in, which I don't know if you know what any of that is. We're on a septic system out here, which means there's a tank in the ground for all the crap water to go into and all that stuff. And the drain field basically is laterals that they put out in the ground to drain off the excess water, while the solids and stuff stay down in the tank. And we just had to have that replaced here long ago, so a couple of weeks ago. So they tore up a whole bunch of stuff, and I need to get in there with some kind of seed or something and plant it, but I don't know what's going to grow in this sand. Got to figure out something, because right now it's barren and it's just washing everything around because of the rain we get. Because we get some pretty nasty rains when it rains down here. I mean, it comes down in buckets. I'm gonna have to get my water cup, guys. Throat's a little dry. Much better. I live in Florida, around the college town, University of Florida. Yeah, I've got literal sand. I mean, it's most of the composition of the sand out here. Oh, I would, Corey. Like I was telling, oh shoot, I can't think of his name now. I've drawn a blank, but somebody else asked me that question too, and I said, I mean, it's basically you need to look at the condition of the fluid when you drop the pan. I mean, if there's not a lot of junk in the bottom of the pan and it's just dark more than anything, it's not going to hurt anything to change it. In fact, it'd probably help. And yeah, I would definitely replace the filter, and don't forget to replace that little seal that's inside the pump. It'll take a little finagling to get it out of there, and make sure not to scratch that hole up where that deal is. If you're prying it out with a screwdriver, just be super careful, because if you gouge it, it'll leak. But definitely replace that seal if you can. Yeah, I watched some of your videos the other day. I assumed you were probably in Texas or something like that. Sometimes you can tell where people are from, But it's not really Hurricane City where I'm at. Usually it's further down south. What's nice about being in the middle of the state, kind of that kind of deal is you kind of got protection from either coast. I mean, the coastlines are going to get it farther worse than we are. So, I mean, occasionally we'll get some high winds. It was funny when we first come down here, we're looking at houses it was in the middle of a hurricane season. And in fact, it was in the middle of a hurricane. And we drove down here on the highway. We couldn't figure out why there wasn't anybody here. And there's trees all in the road and everything else. And we're like, man, that's just a lot of wind and rain, But they said, no, that was the eye of the storm, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe you drove in that. And I was like, it's just rain and wind. I mean, come on, we're from Tornado Alley. We've seen it all. And you're welcome, Corey. I don't know, Clyde. It depends on where you're from. I mean, if Florida's not going to be for everybody, that's for sure. Because I'm going to tell you, when it gets hot down here, it gets hot, and it's really humid. The closer you are to the States, of course, you got more salt air to worry about. And that, don't get me wrong, it's nice, but if you got a classic car or something, that's not the place you want to have one, because it's gonna corrode just from all the salt air. And go Gators, boo! Sorry, Corey. I'm not much of a Gators fan. I'm a Mizzou fan, pretty much. That I was born and raised there, so I'm a Mizzou fan, Chiefs fan. Although that Super Bowl game was depressing. Oh, born in Puerto Rico, huh? Cool. Go Dogs. Hey, Mr. Lawson, I just seen you on there. How you doing? Well, Jonathan, depends on what you want done to it. I mean, depends on what kind of shape yours is in and what's salvageable. It can go to give you an idea, yeah, I kind of gathered that since you said dogs, Corey. It can start. Like I said, it all depends on what parts you want to put in it, but you're going to have at least $1,200 to $1,500 in parts, and I usually, with the time that I spend on them and stuff like that, I usually charge like $400 because like I said, I spend a lot of time with them making it right. So. No, that's what happened. That's what happened to L to the W too. L to the W added some new bald eagles to his, and the stock transmission said, "Nope, ain't gonna happen." Usually I do, but I'm going to tell you, if it's, everything like, what I'm doing with L to the W's, I mean, it's one of it's a high end build, minus some, I mean, you can still go hog wild, I mean, this is just using, 5-gear planets, the Ray Bestis blue clutches, wideband, the Sonics kit. There's a whole combination of different parts you can use. Just the ones that I like to use and what I like to do to them. I like to spend particular attention to the pump area to make sure the pump is right. Even though I got this reman for L to the W, I will be taking it apart and checking it and checking the clearance on the pump to make sure the pump has got the right clearance inside. Because there is a spec, they want like 10 thousandths to like 2 thousandths clearance between the pump body and the rotor and the slide. If it's anything more than that, then you got to do something to get the clearance within spec, because that'll give you a good, reliable, strong pump. Kenny, I don't know. Believe it or not, I don't have enough patience for much of fishing anymore. I mean, in fact, I think if I remember right, the last garage sale we did, I sold all my fishing stuff. I guess I would get too frustrated when nothing bites. Jonathan, I can do that. In fact, let me copy and paste your email. All right, Jonathan, I just sent you a test email, so if you get it, then I've got it copied right and it'll be in there. I do have a 4L80 build on my site. So if you want to check that out, check through my videos. I've got a 4L80 build on there. In fact, I got the same guy that I built that 4L80 for. It died on him for some reason. Strangest thing I ever seen. Built a ton of those things, but he comes back and he goes, "Yeah, if you rev it up to about $3,000, it'll move," and stuff like that. I says, "Well, that's kind of strange." So we thought maybe the converter took a dump. So I went out there and helped him put a converter in it, because I stand behind what I do, and nothing changed. So I says, "Well, whenever you get a chance, get it out and get it to me, and I'll tear it down and find out what happened, fix it to you, and get it back to you." So he brought it back to me, and I took the pan off of it. I've got a video done. I just haven't released it yet. But the TCC valve, when I pulled it out, the valve, the plug, and the spring was laying in the bottom of the pan. And I'm like, well, how the heck did that happen? And the weirdest part is I can't find the retainer. So I'm assuming the retainer got sucked up in the filter somewhere, and it's up in there. And because the pump wasn't damaged, I mean, the pump was perfect shape. And that is a pump that I modified. And I don't remember modifying the TCC valve though. I did replace the spring, I think, but that's the only thing I did to it. So it either blew the spring out or retainer out, or I didn't have it latched in it. But, it may have been something I screwed up. I don't know. But nonetheless, I told him I'd take care of it. And so like I said, I stand behind what I do, so I'll fix it for him. And it kind of cooked a couple of clutches. It cooked, didn't completely burn them up, but it darkened the forward and the direct clutch and kind of burnt the band a little bit. So I'll put all that stuff in new. Hot spotted a couple of steels, so we'll put a new set of steels in it. Just make it right. I mean, that's the whole point. You just got to make it right. Purple border collie. I don't know. I have not opened that pump up yet. I mean, I got it. It's, I ordered it for 700R4 with a auxiliary valve body, which they're different if you get one with auxiliary valve body and without. And I have not opened it up yet to look. Yes, I will be upgrading the pump. I've got a Sonex kit. I've got the SureCure kit that I'm using on this particular one. And I do have a 13 vein upgrade kit that I'm going to go ahead and put that in there too. Like I said, I put it in all my pumps. It won't hurt at all. So good deal, Jonathan. Anyway, again, if I didn't say it already, I apologize for missing my 8 o'clock deal. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just kind of spacing there, watching a couple of videos on the chair, and I was getting tired. And I was like, I probably just ought to go to bed. And I got in there, and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be on air. Oops. These mugs are great, guys. I had school this week. I had to go to Orlando, around in that area where the training center is. I put ice in this thing Thursday or Wednesday before I went to work. And when I came back Thursday evening, it still had ice in it. These things are great. Yeah, Steven, aren't you like 5 hours or not 5? Aren't you like 3 hours behind me? So, like it's 9:26, so it's probably 6:30 there, isn't it, Steven? And Corey, I started building transmissions back when I was, that would have been 23, 22, 23, somewhere in there, which that was 25 years ago. And I didn't really do it professionally, actually for somebody, until I started working for my first GM dealership. Well, I wouldn't say my first GM dealership. When I actually went back to turning wrenches in a dealership, it was, I was, what year was that? It was the height of when all this stuff was starting to break. So it would have been 2000, 2004. I think it was 2004 is when I actually started doing it in the dealership full time. The rest of the time I was doing, little odds and ends. But yeah, it's been a while. Knoxville, Tennessee. Yes, sir. That's pretty close to the way that I go when I go up north to visit home. I'll get on 75 and 75 to 20, 24. Yeah, 24 to 57 to 64 to 70 is usually the way I go. So that's a long trip back up home too. 1,100 miles. Needless to say, I'm getting too old to do that in one day. My body won't let me do that crap anymore. So it usually takes me 2 days to do it. I usually stop off in, Nashville area, somewhere in there. That's about the halfway. Occasionally we'll go all the way to Paducah. Hybrid muscle. To answer your question on that, if you're doing it in the car and you're just replacing it, if you got to put a torque converter in it, and you're kind of limited, you don't plan on taking the whole thing apart, you can try to blow a bunch of that stuff out with. I don't know if you've seen me in any of the videos. I've got those pressurized cans you can buy from Napa. They're about that big, probably about that tall. And they've got a fitting on the top of it. But what I usually use is that it's actually made by Zepp. It's called Brake Wash. That stuff, it works great for cleaning parts. It doesn't leave any residue, and it doesn't kill you with the aroma. I mean, that's the best thing that I found so far, and it'll clean it up pretty well. Of course, obviously, you're going to want to make sure to get all that junk out of the valve body, but that's what happens on those 6L80s when they fail. The torque converter is what usually fails. Excuse me, and it sends all the clutch material and all that stuff through the transmission into the case and the valve body, and it usually burns stuff up, causes a lack of pressure, and just burns clutches. And the 456 is usually the one that goes the first. Oh yeah, you could stick it in a pressure washer just as long as it's not too caustic. If it's as long as it's an alkaline solution, or the stuff we use at work is actually aqueous based, whatever you want to call it. And it cleans real well. If it's really hot, then just blow everything dry. Just take your time, get everything cleaned out. Oh, that's not a bad deal, Corey. You said you're up in Georgia, right? Um, but yeah, I've been up there a couple of times. You know, the worst thing about Georgia is driving through Atlanta, especially when you got a 28-foot box trailer on the back of your truck. You know, it's just terrible. You're doing a full rebuild. Um, yeah, I mean, if you don't have access to a hot tank or something like that, you can use like that brake wash. They'll even sell it in like a 5-gallon pail. I know. You just have to call a Zep rep. But it's the stuff that it does evaporate. But like I said, it doesn't kill you spraying it. Like if you buy that carb cleaner carb cleaner, brake cleaner from the parts store, you'll about gag using that stuff. Not to mention it's so highly flammable. This brake wash stuff it works phenomenal. But like I said, if you get access to or know somebody that's got a hot tank that they'll let you throw the dude in, give it a good bath, that's your best bet up by a long ways. Yeah, brake clean. Zep calls it brake wash. That's all I know. So, you know, if you don't have access to it, that brake wash will clean. You know, of course, it evaporates real quick, but like I said, to find a friend or a machine shop close or something like that that has a has a aqueous cleaner or a hot tank or something like that they'll let you throw all your parts in. And what I usually do is I'll take zip ties and I'll zip tie all the really light parts together with something heavy to keep them from blowing all over the place. And then you can put all your small stuff in there too. And so it doesn't blow all over and you're not fishing in the bottom of the tank for parts and stuff like that. And that's your best bet. And just make sure when you get it out of the tank, you know, wash it off. If it's out of a hot tank, the aqueous cleaner you don't really have to wash off. That's what's nice about that. Just make sure blow it dry real good and you're good to go. Chickamauga, Georgia, 15 miles from Chattanooga. 15 minutes from Chattanooga. There's a Chattanooga in Georgia? Chickamauga, Georgia. I'm gonna have to look that up. I could spell it right. Chickamauga, Georgia. Los Potros, Mexican. Oh yeah. Okay. That's right. That's where 75 turns into 24. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, that's where you catch 24 and you head north is right there in Chattanooga, where you switch different time zones twice when you're going across 24. So yeah, okay, yeah, you definitely live close. That's for sure. Ice 27. There is two videos or Which one have I got? I've got my first video posting. It'll be up tomorrow. Second video will be out following Wednesday. And I'm going to be out there again tomorrow, building on it some more and recording. I took a break and got the 2 edited that I'd done so far. Like I said, I'm waiting on a 3/4 ply ring that's caught in shipping from GM because of the storm. Mississippi. Every time I see that, I remember the growing up in grade school and when we were doing when they were teaching us spelling and stuff like that. It was MISSI PPI. The simpler times, anyway. Man, thanks for the thumbs up, y'all. I really appreciate that. You know, I might break more than 10 watchers at a time one of these days. Of course, it'd help if I was on time. And one of these days, I'll work on getting a better camera so it's a little clearer. I don't think the light would help any either. I mean, it's not real bright in here, but that's not a high quality camera on top of this monitor. But it's all I got. I think I'm finally able to do it on my phone for too long, and then I know the camera would be better on the phone. What do you mean I'm just now going? Well, Steven, this isn't the phone, actually. Oh, yeah, I am growing. This is actually just a Dell monitor that's got the camera built into it, but my phone is an Android. I've got a what is that thing? Cat's filling the oats. It's a oh crap, I can't remember what the name of it is. A51. It's a great phone, but I may try that next time. But yeah, it's a Samsung. But I got this mic, if y'all can see it without my head, because I wanted you to be, I think this thing, so you guys can hear me clear with this mic, I'm sure, compared to what I was using. So that's kind of why I got it. Seems to work pretty good. I've heard it I've did some video dubbing on some of my, on one of my videos, and it's super clear. Corey, I'd tossed that around a while back too. And I got busy. And there's just so much going on. You know, it's a struggle just to do the YouTube thing and hold down a full-time job and, build transmissions on the side, so it's, if I had more time to spend doing this, it'd be another story, but I spend probably, I probably spend anywhere about 45, 50 hours a week at least just driving to and from working and then coming back. And usually during the evening, if I'm usually wiped depending on how busy the day is. So, the only time I get to do it is sometimes on the weekend. So maybe someday. I thought of that. I thought about doing the live stream while you build, but out in the shop, well, I don't know about Superman and transmissions, Corey. There's always guys better than me. I just try to do the best I can, but I appreciate that nonetheless. And I have thought about doing live streams while I build. The problem is where my shop is at. The Wi-Fi is terrible there. Plus, I got a metal roof on my building, so it interferes with just about everything. So I have to do this in the house. One man army of transmissions. Like I said, I appreciate that, but like I said, there's always plenty of people that are better than I. One of these days I'm gonna get one of those one of them GoPros that I can stick on my forehead or something like that, so you guys can get a better view of what I'm doing, because I know it's kind of tough to do that with a camera phone. I haven't figured out how to make some head brace to make a camera phone stick up there. And a DJI. Okay. Okay, you're going to have to call me a little illiterate now for what the hell is a DJI. I'm sure it's a camera of some sort. Head brace, Amazon, $6. Yeah, Corey, I don't know if my Wi-Fi is because I got it sitting on top of my battery backup and maybe there's some EMI interference, but it's on one side of the house. My shop is on the other side. And like I said, my house is a concrete block. So it's tough to get the signal out of there. I mean, believe me, if I had better service out there and figured out some way I could make a lapel mic work in the same time while I'm doing it, that would be awesome. That'd be pretty cool. DJI, huh? Let's pull up old Amazon and type that in and see what pops up. DJI. DJI Osmo Action 4K Action Cam. Oh, it's got pretty good reviews. It's a heck of a lot cheaper too than a GoPro. Looks like they mainly do drones though. That's why that name sounded familiar. Because they do drones. There's a lot of people that talk about the Mavic 2 Pro. Said that's supposed to be a badass drone. I'd love to be able to do some drone footage someday too. Learn how to fly that dude. What? It requires iOS or Android 7.0 or above. Why the hell would it require that? That's not a bad price. Not a bad price at all. Oh, really? Well, that's pretty dang cool. That's even more cool. If you can do that, I mean, you could make sure that the camera's pointed in the right direction. That's ideal. You could watch yourself watching yourself. That's funny. So is that what you use on your on some of your videos that you did? Like, well, I think I watched one where you did the speaker grill or the speaker upgrade on the old 73 C10 or something like that. Had the kick panels on it. Is that what you had on your head at the time you were doing that? Nice. Well, that's reasonably priced too, for sure. I mean, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than a GoPro, like I said. That's almost livable. Because that's the biggest thing. I'd really like to do that so you guys can see a hands-on view of what I'm doing. You can see what I'm doing better than having the camera off. And nonetheless, I still show you. I don't use it fork. Oh, 4K. Corey tried that before. Didn't exactly. I mean, it worked somewhat, but we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I've got this this editing program that I've got can convert my footage to 4K footage. But I did that on a video. I tried it on a video. I wanted to see what it did because most of my videos, when I save them, they're like this one I tried it on was 1.28 gig or something like that when I got done editing. If I saved it as 4K, that way it turns into be like a 7 gig file. I I found out real fast that I'm not going to be able to do that. I don't have the space. In fact, I'm getting real close to having to come up with a solution for more hard drive space. I'm either going to have to start deleting some stuff, or I'm going to have to upgrade and build something with more storage. And if y'all didn't know, I've built pretty much, I say that this computer I've just upgraded, but I used to build my own computers back in the day too. So I know quite a bit about computer building, electronics and software compatibilities and hardware compatibilities and that kind of stuff. So I also went to school for network administrator. That was kind of interesting. 5 external. I've looked into that, but I think what I'm going to try to do is I've got an empty case out there I'm not using, and there's a couple of companies out there that make hot swappable to do like a RAID 10 array or something like that, and I can probably put a couple of 8 or 10 terabyte drives in it and have gobs of storage. This one that I built was just some hard drives that I had laying around the house. 2 of them they were brand new. I hadn't even used them yet, and put them together. And when I started, it was like 890 gig or something like that. I think they were, I don't think they were 1 terabyte. I think they were just, they were 900 gig. They were Western Digital anyway, but there was 3 of them that were all the same. And I did a RAID stripe array on it with the 3 drives. And I think I've got maybe 100 gig left. So, but I still have my server that's in the bedroom that's behind me here, right behind that wall. I've got my server in there that I use for when I had my business, and it's still got some space left on it. So I may do that for temporary until I can build up enough money to do anything. So, but well, y'all, it's been a pleasure talking to y'all tonight. Yeah, I get that. And I was just going to say, I'm going to call it a night. I think it's a good place to quit. I'm glad you all stopped by and at least said something. And I made something out of nothing. I didn't think I was going to get anybody on here, but it worked. So we'll do it again next week. Same time, same channel. I would say that because I'd say what I really wanted to say, because probably get copyrighted or something. But sure thing, Clyde. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope so. I hope so. But y'all have a blessed evening. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week. Make sure to pay attention to the videos. I'll have one, like I said. The first L to the W build video is coming out tomorrow at noon. And then the second one will be out Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. These are Eastern times. So until then, we'll see you in the next go round. Night, y'all.